Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Brodie tuku ingoa, ko Pākehā au, ko tangata tiriti au. My whānau have lived in Te Waipounamu since the middle of the 19th century, and large Irish Catholic family distributed over the island, and I think that we should keep this in-house. I think that keeping this in-house means that elected representatives have both more control over what happens with water, both in all senses, but also more accountability over what they do with water, which I think is important for how our local democracy works. I would request that council pushes for policy that does not do the bare minimum for engagement with mana whenua. I think that forward-thinking policy that doesn't do just what is required under the current central government legislation, but is looking to what Aotearoa may look like in the future is key here. Small waka used to be able to be taken from Kaiapoi to Te Waihora, and as we saw in the earthquakes, o Tautahi is built on water. It quite literally came back up and became the swamp that probably some of my ancestors helped drain. Stormwater, blackwater, greywater, freshwater infrastructure and the way that is handled, designed, maintained has massive impacts on mahinga kai. Runoff, agricultural runoff, industrial runoff, civil runoff, and the way that affects our bodies of water needs to be it should be kept in-house, because that means that our elected representatives can be held accountable for how that is managed. An example of why a CCO is not a good option is the runoff from coal stacks at LPC, Littleton Port Company, and the environmental impacts that is having on mahinga kai sources in Whakaraupo, and the impacts that the land reclamation efforts being done by LPC is also having on that mahinga kai source. And how that is having a negative impact on relations between council and mana whenua. Mātauranga Māori and tikanga informed practice is the only way that we can move forward in Aotearoa to prevent further environmental harm, which I would classify as environmental devastation. The future of this country is one that is based in mātaki mai, constitutional reform that honours te tiriti the way that it must be honoured, and policy should recognise that and be doing all that it can to engage appropriately with hapu, iwi, runanga in ways that recognise that mahinga kai and other things that our freshwater, blackwater, stormwater infrastructure has our taonga that are recognised under te tiriti, and our policy, sure, this might be a temporary, maybe under a different central government, we will see different legislative changes that council will have to react to, but you have an opportunity here in this policy to ensure that this is forward thinking about how we engage with the sphere of rangatiratanga influence. Thank you. I'll take questions if anyone's got them.
Kia ora. Well, thank you so much for coming in. You're a bit of an anomaly. Not many of you come in talking about Mātauranga Māori practices. Okay. I just wanted to ask a question around how you envision that to be structured, in the way that we engage with Māori at the moment is ask them if it's all good. They go, yep, all good. And then it pretty much gets implemented. How do you see that working forward if we were going to utilise Mātauranga Māori practices for water reform and actually looking after our environment?
Well, I mean, quite often that engagement is done in a way, right, where council or a CCO comes up with an idea, does lots of consultation, puts something almost into practice, and then presents it and goes, hey, y'all all right with this? Māori worldview should be brought in at the start of changes to infrastructure and planning. I don't want to talk about getting into structures in terms of whether it should be 50-50 co-governance and the wording that's been used around that, but there is a relationship that has not been maintained that must be maintained, and it is up to our elected representatives to actually work on that.
Great answer. Kia ora.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
About a couple of things. So